to be black is your identity. To be black is to be everything. To be black is to understand, is a big responsibility. It's kind of like having a superpower.
So today we're going to be doing something about mental health today. It's going to be real quick, but firstly, our agenda for today is we are going to have Beyonce from Boston coming from Alpha Phi Alpha to talk to you guys about the fraternity. And then after that, we're going to have a walk in your shoes activity.
BSU is Black Student Union on campus. We empower minorities on campus to promote and show our diversity and how to bring more awareness for us on campus.
As a black woman on a predominantly white campus, I feel like it's a little bit harder because you don't see a lot of us here. So it's harder to find people that you can really connect with.
Identity is knowing who you are, knowing your self-worth, knowing about yourself, how you will react to something. That's what identity is.
The first thing that comes to mind when I think of identity is integrity, who you are when no one's watching. That's like your true identity right there. That shows exactly who you are in the most important situations.
Various historical figures and authors that try to wrestle with this, trying to tackle that question of what does it mean to be black in America at certain periods in history. One of the most well-known authors on that score then his concepts still have so much influence in how people think about this today was W.E.B. Du Bois, who wrote in The Souls of Black Folk in 1903 about what he called the peculiar sensation of double consciousness, which was his way of talking about sort of the psychological impacts of a minority in the dominant culture seeing themselves through the expectations of others and trying to wrestle with that internal identity, their efforts to assert their own internal identity versus sort of the expectations of society.
Do you feel like you belong on campus? Do you have a sense of belonging on campus?
Since it is a PWI and we are minorities, like, do you feel as
So I kind of have like identity crisis. I done met some real colorless people in my life. So like I'm not black enough, not white enough. Damn, like what am I? Like I don't know. Like at this school, I picked the school for my major honestly. Like, people be leaving because they thought it was gonna be busing at PWI. Right. Like, I ain't coming from like I don't know. I make myself small. Like, I feel like I'm a very well-rounded person. So like my white friends, I can click with them and
I think the primary thing that leads to discomfort is misunderstanding, like a lack of knowledge, general lack of knowledge, and then I would say stereotypes. I am big on how people perceive or make assumptions about other people based on so many things. It could be your skin, it could be your hair, it could be the way you dress. We always tend to, I think, make assumptions. So I think oftentimes when you're a black person, you're a gay person, and I check so many boxes. I'm a black, gay woman at a predominantly white institution. And I definitely think identity issues are common, right? Finding out who you are, what you believe in, what you support are real things that people have to figure out. And honestly, I came into this like, I don't give a damn. Like, I don't care about what people think about how I look, what my hair looks like, what my sexual orientation is. Like, it's who I am. And you can take it or leave it. But I think a lot of the disconnect or issues come when people aren't that reassured in who they are. And then when you have people who aren't knowledgeable about where you come from, and then they have these ideas about who you are, it becomes a barrier, right? So again, I think that's where that common ground or finding commonality between other people comes into play, because otherwise we'd all just be sitting around staring at each other, making assumptions about what the other is thinking or what the other believes, instead of just asking or having a conversation about it.
How are the conversations different between like your white friends and your black friends? Like, how do you set boundaries between like what's okay and what's not? Yeah, you specifically, yeah.
Because I don't know, I know myself, like I wouldn't talk about certain subjects with a white person because I don't know their response and I don't want to find out their response. Like, I wouldn't talk about the Black movement with a white person just because if they say something I don't like you're entitled to your opinion, but I'm gonna be mad.
I think for some people, it can be because we're looking at the differences so hard. We're looking at the differences between white and black, you know, whether it's something as simple as our hair, whether it's something as simple as, your size, maybe. I think that's what we look at, those exteriors first. You know, is it something if you're not used to living with someone who's of a different color, right? And I'm just going to go back to the hair because that's most obvious, right? Of, you know, if you're not used to living with someone who's white, maybe the hair gets everywhere that you're not used to. If you're not used to someone who's living with black, maybe their hair gets everywhere, right? That you're not used to. I think sometimes we don't break down the walls that we have and realize that, you know what, we're just people, right? That we have to communicate. So I think that's why sometimes it's hard for us to connect, or some people to connect with people who don't look like them, because we're just looking at the outside instead of trying to find that connection of, you know what, are we both journalism majors? You know what, are we both into broadcast news? Do we both like football? Instead of finding that commonality, I think we sometimes instantly look at the differences.
I think right now it's probably hard as hell to find common ground, right, with people that are different from you. Especially between, you know, the white and black communities. So my advice would be to find common ground. And then within that, try to grow your conversations from there. So yeah, it might be very surface level communication initially when you're trying to find common ground with somebody, but I think it's a place to start. And then when you get into those deeper level conversations about maybe whether it's politics, maybe it's religion, maybe it's sexual orientation and all those things that we're arguing about in this world right now, not just in America, but globally, women's rights, right? You'll get to know where people stand on certain things. And I think once you have that base level understanding, like, hey, I'm going to come at you respect. If you come at me respect, we can disagree. And then maybe we aren't each other's cup of tea, but maybe we are. And we can have those disagreements and move forward. So I think a lot of my relations came from finding commonality at a very base level. So it's maybe you like the same history class. Maybe we like the same song. And it's not genres, just a song. Find some kind of common ground and then let that lead into deeper conversations where you can have relationships with people that you disagree with.
PWIs introduce you as a minority, regardless of the race of minority you're in. It introduces you into a world that I feel like is very important. It shows you if you really pay attention, it'll show you the social class or the scale of, or the grand scheme of, it's all about who you know and not what you know.
I was talking with one of my students recently and was telling her about that experience of how there was a Caucasian girl. And I remember I tried to educate her. We stayed up till 2, 3 in the morning because she felt that the black people at the University of Texas, that we were there just because they had to be, just because they had to get a number and have so many blacks. And I remember looking at her and I said, where did you graduate in your class? She was like, oh, like at the bottom. And I said, most of these people who you think are here just because, I said, they graduated in the top 10% or higher of their class. So they deserve to be here. So, you know, there were instances like that where you had to explain and you try to educate.
During the Black Lives Matter movement, I was still in school. So during that, you'd have people who would look at me funny, the ones who were on All Lives Matter side. One time, not me, but one of my classmates, her car got tagged for her Black Lives Matter flag was torn, and they put All Lives Matter on the side of her car.
While the phrase Black Lives Matter has gained traction all around the world, the phrase All Lives Matter is facing backlash. CBS 2's Carolyn Gossoff explains this.
The Black Lives Matter mantra, a sorrowful rallying cry, at times answered with this retort. An obvious statement, all lives matter, but in this moment seen as twisting the Black Lives Matter message.
It was really tough. I felt really scared. I kind of didn't want to go to school the next week. My mother let me stay home the next day because in these situations I get really scared because like my life is being put in jeopardy with people who showed their beliefs more radically, and it just was a very unnerving situation.
To a certain extent. I mean, but it's like, not to be like mean or harsh, but it's like, what do you expect? You go to PWI, which is more predominantly for white kids. Regardless, they're not gonna treat African American people the same as they treat a non-person of color. So it's almost like, I feel like you pick your poison, if that makes sense.
I don't think that's true because you're a professor. You're not supposed to come here because it's a PWI and treat someone different because of their skin color. That's not in your job description. Your job description is to teach.
That's not in the job description, but that's how society is.
When you do look up, right, you see what, one of me and probably 7 or 8, white, older, probably male or older female people. But if students of colors do, have concern or hesitation or thoughts that maybe they aren't feeling heard by other people. Hell, even if I'm not the right person, like, let me get my girl Patrice, like, let me ask some other folks who might know more than me, the Dr. Dempsey's of the world, like, how can we all come together collectively to support? So, yes, it is challenging, and maybe I'm not the person, but there are other of us. There's more of us than we think there are. We just gotta seek each other out.
I would like to see things that benefit, that include everyone, that'll make whoever want to really get out and get into it. A lot of the things that go on here extracurricular-wise, and some education events as well, mostly just events in general, don't favor anyone but the Caucasian race on our campus and professionalism. And that's not always what it's all about. Sometimes it's really about having fun in a way that everyone can have fun, but you can't expect me to have fun at a lacrosse event when, I've never even played lacrosse. I know, lacrosse isn't my thing, but all the Caucasians here know lacrosse, and they're like, oh yeah, let's go to this lacrosse event. I know it's going to be some kind of fun, things like that.
Always know who you are, have your goals, stay focused, keep your eye on the prize always. Remember why you are there at school. You were there to get a degree. You are not there to join a sorority. You're not there really to join a fraternity. You're not there to be in this organization, to do this, to do that. You are there to get a degree. You are there to go to class. Of course, you gotta have some fun now. You gotta have some fun. You're in college, right? In between there. But it's always knowing about who you are and never forgetting who you are and your values and what's important to you.